Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us. To begin this fabulous panel discussion, I'd like to begin with a quote. I'm not in this world to live up to your expectations. I'm in this world to live up to mine. And that's such a, prudent quote by Bruce Lee. Um, well, most of the times a relationship fails not because of the absence of love, probably it's because of the overpresence of expectations. And that's what we are here today with all of you, is to discuss and see if we can find threads towards achieving balance, equilibrium in terms of relationship and expectations. I'm going to be your moderator for the evening. My name is Dipika Trehan. I'm the founder of my organization called the Health of Women Forum. It focuses on employee well-being, primarily in the corporate scenario, and also the founder of a leadership development program for women at work, Corporate Diva. I'm truly looking forward to this fabulous topic of discussion, relationships and expectations put forth by the Woodpecker media. And we'd like to move ahead one by one, inviting our panelists. So the first one I'm going to invite to have with all of you is a very well-known artist, Sandip. Here you go, Sandip, all yours. We'd love to hear a few words from you.
Good evening, Dipika, and it's lovely to be a part of this conversation. Thank you, Woodpecker Media, for having me to come and speak here. I would just say that, yes, relationships are very difficult. They're very complicated. And today, I think with this entire conversation, we probably will be able to understand how to make it better, if not the best. Because I think every relationship has its own ups and downs, but it's important to just hang in there and make it as best as possible. So that's why I think I'm looking forward to this conversation. And I hope it can enrich all of us.
Absolutely, Sandeep. I'm looking forward to an enriching conversation with you. And joining us is an actor, Ridhiema. Let's welcome Ridhiema and have her share a few lines with our audience.
Hello, Dipika. It's a beautiful Thursday evening, and thank you, Woodpecker Media, for giving me this opportunity where I can voice my opinion on this very crucial subject, relationships and expectations, because relationships definitely is the most crucial part of our life, and certainly what gives us happiness in life. And these days, people themselves are so empty within that they definitely look out for external factors to fill themselves up. There's so much more that I'm looking forward to, because I know this one thing, that through this session, through this panel discussion, I'll be able to reach out to so many of them who kind of look forward to these inspirational experiences, which can certainly nurture them and help them with their own relationships in life. So thank you so much. I can't wait.
Thanks for joining us, Ridhiema. Really looking forward to an enriching conversation on a topic that's so close to our hearts. And yes, to back it all up with expertise may I invite Dr. Ruhi, a psychiatrist. And Dr. Ruhi, can we have a few words from you as well?
Hi, Dipika. Thank you so much for the opportunity. I'm really excited to be here. Relationships is really important for all of us. They are not just, a part of our life. They formulate what we become in our life as well. So I'm really happy that you have chosen this topic. It is really relevant, and I hope I can give some inputs which can help people today.
Thank you so much. It's lovely to be a part of such a fabulous panel, and moderating it is completely my honor. We all know relationships being bittersweet. Let me start with something which is my question to both Ridhiema and Sandeep here. Tell me something, Sandeep. Is expectation a root cause of heartaches?
Well, definitely, yes. High expectations are definitely root cause of heartaches, because I think when we increase our own levels without realizing where we stand ourselves, I think that is where the problems all starts. So best would be not to have too many expectations, and yes, just to go with the life the way it comes, like they say, to accept life the way it is and the way things are around us, and especially with our loved ones. Because sometimes we tend to behave differently with our loved ones and differently with people outside, and expectations therefore increase furthermore with them, because we feel that they should understand us. And I think it's very difficult, because we don't have a magic wand that people will understand you. So I think it's very important to control your expectations and be very comfortable with your expectations and be more normal with it instead of keeping it too high, because when it is too high up there, it's just too difficult to reach up there. So if you're just keeping it low and maybe a little more down, it'll be easier for you to connect and be with your people.
I love the factor that you highlighted that, high expectations are something which are the trigger points of conflict over here in terms of relationships. To you, Ridhiema, do you really feel that expectations are the root cause of heartaches in relationships?
Definitely, yes, because when you get a reality check, it kind of breaks your heart. And third, there you get kind of a major shock, because when you, what the reasons that are, responsible for you to be in the relationship, as time passes, as time goes, you realize that the person has changed. There are so many things that the person did before, and now the person seems to be doing that differently. But what we forget is, when you want to win over a person, you are in the best, you are in your best. But when you have kind of when you have that person in your life, and when you kind of evolve that person, you are sharing a life with that person. you know you are not going to be consuming the individuality of a person. But what we forget is, in the process, why it breaks your heart, because you feel that you kind of own the person, and that is where the problem begins. You start feeling that the space, the brain, the decisions, whatever the person is doing in life, you kind of own that. And it's okay, because that person, you have, you strike that belongingness with that person, so it's okay to do so. And you so easily take that person for granted, and that is where the problem begins. But what if we didn't expect from the other person at all? What if the total focus was in the true evolution of the self? So what I feel is, high expectation in any relationship is definitely going to lead to disappointments, a trail of disappointments. But when one focuses on self, it kind of distracts you, and at the same time elevates you to a level where you understand that giving is more important in a relationship than looking for things that complete you. That completes you. You want to fetch those pointers from the other person to complete you. So I feel that somewhere this heartache is also because we want to put our happiness, we constantly look for these happiness elements in others and not self. So
So true. I think that's a very relevant point that you highlighted over there. So definitely moderation is one of the keys to a successful relationship. But I'd like to know from Dr. Ruhi, what do you think is the essence of a strong relationship?
So both of them have very beautifully, covered most of the topics, but I'll just go a little into the psychology aspect of it because that is my forte. So what happens when you enter a relationship is the expectation is natural. You're entering a relationship to get something, and there is nothing wrong with it. But what happens is, normally when we are entering a relationship, and especially the society that we are brought up in, we are told that, only when you get somebody alive to, somebody to spend your life with is when you are complete, right? And what happens essentially is that whatever we are lacking, we try to find in that other person. Now, there is nothing wrong in that. We need the other person, right? We need whatever we are lacking. That is why we need other people in our life, because we are not effective in everything. But what happens is that every time expecting that the other person will be there to take care of you is when the things start becoming tricky. That is the first thing. And second thing is, if internally you are somebody who is more of, of a pessimist attitude, you are somebody who has a negative outlook towards life, no matter how many, blessings you have in life, how many people you have in life, you won't be able to appreciate it. So, we see common patterns. If somebody comes with a relationship heartbreaks and, multiple relationship breakups, so you will see a pattern in them. They'll say, everybody disappoints me, everybody
Mhm.
betrays you. Yes, they have done that, but you have to see that what is it in you that is making them do that to you, right? So it
True.
is, one thing is expectation, and the other thing is that what you are putting up on the table, that the other person is responding in this way, can actually lead to some of the major issues that we see today.
I'd love the
Yeah.
simplicity in which you kind of put that across, Doctor. I think it's just so relatable. Which brings me to one question, which I'm going to throw to all three of you. And trust you me, that's a really tricky one. Is how can we balance relationship and expectations in life? Who'd like to go first?
Let the
All
ladies
right.
go first.
Sure, sure. All right. So balancing expectations and relationship, what happens is that there is no rule book and every relationship is very, very different, right? But mutual respect, kindness, and keeping the relationship before your own self is something essential if you want the relationship to work. So if you are going in the relationship and it's all about you all the time, no matter how much understanding the other person is, someday they are going to give up. And it's not that they are wrong somewhere, they have to, because you didn't leave them any option. So balance is, if you see a lot of conflicts happening in a relationship, the first thing what I ask them to do is, what is the reason of the conflict? So there has to be just one common reason. So for example, one person will say, I just feel neglected. All right. So just check that whether you are actually being neglected, or it's just your thought pattern that people neglect me, and because the other person is behaving this way, it means that thing. So if you have open communication, if you can tell the other person that this is what I'm feeling, and you can come to a center point that, okay, at least this much I expect, and the other person can come to terms that, all right, I can do this much, but beyond this, I won't be able to. If there are some boundaries drawn, I think it makes it much more easier to create those boundaries as well as be satisfied about it, especially in today's time when both the partners are working. So it's really not possible for the other person to be available 24 hours. So some groundwork, if you have, it is going to make much more easier.
True. I think relationship is indeed a two-way traffic, so you've got to do your bit as well in it. But I'd like to hear about that from Ridhiema and Sandeep as well. Ridhiema, yeah, go
So
ahead.
how to balance, yeah. So how to balance relationships, as in, why do you need to balance a relationship if you're focusing completely on yourself? If you are doing that, you are doing things you're passionate about, if you are focusing more on being a giver, if you are not afraid to communicate what you feel, you know, consistently. So when there is no lack of communication, when there's a sense of responsibility, when you do your bit 100%, that is when the balance automatically will flow, rather than expecting the balance to flow from that end. If you start doing A, B, C slowly, and this requires a certain amount of patience, I feel, because I will be completing 2 years of shadi on the 28th, and I was dating this man for 6 years. And after shadi, there are so many things that we both went through. And today I can say we are better versions of ourselves. And today, truly today, we are living a fulfilling relationship. And it is so much more, so much better than what we were when we were dating each other. Because there was fire, there was so many, there was lust, there was sex, but beyond all this is something more fulfilling, that is oneness, the feeling of oneness, that you belong to each other, you're sharing a life together, yet there is something that keeps the individual alive, that you can follow your own passion, your dreams, and you can share in the process. This deep understanding comes with time. It cannot happen all of a sudden, that aaj pyar hua, kal understanding aa gayi. So one should first, one should, if one really needs a relationship, a long term relationship, then one needs to really have patience and believe that the other person will someday come on the same page as mine. So yeah.
Yeah, no, I think that's also very validly put across that, it's got to be work from both ends, as well as it's more of an inside out job. Your gratifications, your validations of expectations have to happen from within. You cannot really rely outwardly for that. Sandeep, what's your take on it?
Well, I feel most important is to prioritize the relationship. Because once the person is your priority, the relationship is your priority, always things will work well, and you have to be extremely comfortable in communicating with each other, speaking everything possible, your likes, your dislikes, and at the same time, you have to put yourself in other person's shoes and think from their point of view and not think from your side. There is this a very small thing, like when we go out and when we meet people, when somebody serves us water, first thing we say is thank you. But when our
Mhm.
wife is serving us water, when our girlfriend is serving us water, we hardly say that thank you. We
Yeah.
hardly say a sorry. So
Yeah.
there is this very beautiful Kabir ka doha which says, "Aisi vani boliye man ka apa khoye, auran ko sheetal kare apu sheetal hoye," which is truly puts together this relationship that you need to speak nicely to your partner. No need to shout, no need to be angry, no need to be upset. You can sit and talk to each other because we all are matured people. We can understand things and we can speak up if we have any problems. So we need to be compassionate enough to understand that. And if we do that, we don't see a problem happening. But if the communication is lacking, the priority is lacking, then definitely things will not work for anything, be it your own workspace or be it a relationship. If you don't prioritize things, it will never work for you. So your partner, your relationship, your family should be a priority if you think it is worth being a priority. But if you feel that it is not being a priority, then you can keep it down under somewhere. It's fine because you feel it's not happening. But if you feel you want to make it work, you need to talk to the person and you must make the person your highest priority.
I think that's very, very beautifully said, and I love the Kabir ka doha there. It's just so relevant, though age is old, but just so relevant in every aspect of life, even today. And what I've noticed when I interact with people is that ego is also something that comes in the way of relationships. In fact, I'm going to reply to your doha with a doha, which is, there is a Kabir ka doha which says that "Bada hua to kya hua, jaise ped khajur, panti ko chaya nahi, phal lage ati dur."
I
So,
will add to that. I will add to that one more. चलती चक्की देख कर रोए कबीरा. चलती चक्की देख कर दिया कबीरा रोए. दो पाटन के बीच में साबुत बचाना कोई. So there are egos. दो पाटन के बीच में there'll be nobody left, no relationship left, nothing. So I think we are talking about Kabir now. I'm so excited.
no, and I think we can just go on with that. But I'm going to come to a critical aspect here in terms of relationships, and don't we all face it? Tell me something, and let me take that from Ridhiema first. Ridhiema, do you think conflict is something normal in a relationship?
Absolutely. Conflicts will happen because there are two different people coming together and deciding to share a life. Conflicts are bound to happen. People come from various different backgrounds, ideologies, they have their own set of dreams, goals that they want to pursue. They are definitely going to have conflicts. But what is more important is how do they find a solution? As in, how do they arrive at solving a problem in a healthy way is the most crucial here. So what is the most important when you have, because conflicts give you a deeper understanding of each other. So conflicts may happen, but the degree of the conflict, if the person, if the husband or if the boyfriend thinks that the girlfriend or the wife has hidden agendas, तो फिर बात ही खत्म हो जाती है, because then there is no level of trust in it, in the relationship. So first, one person has to realize if this relationship is strong, uh, trust is sorted, respect is sorted, loyalty is sorted, there's no cheating, then you can talk about other things, and then everything can be spoken about. There's always a way to, and a moderate way of sorting things out. Conflict, the very word, is very disturbing, but
Yeah.
one can always speak to the person that you once loved, and you should understand the red flag. If there are too many conflicts, there is something that the person is not talking, there's something that the person is keeping in the heart, because conflicts may rise once, twice, but if the frequency rises, that means there's something else at the back of the mind, which is again giving reasons for more conflicts. So
Yeah.
then one person intuitively, and we are all intuitive here, one person intuitively has to make the other person sit and ask. I know we cannot read people's minds here, but then I feel that women are gifted with this, and I think women can do this beautifully, their role towards solving things out in a more moderate way, where she brings along her gentleness, her love, her affection, because I feel that man, however, whatever physique he has, is extremely soft within. And a woman can, in her own loving ways, nurture it and bring the best in a relationship via communication.
True. I think that's beautifully put, Ridhiema. Thanks for that, because I think making the relationship a priority, which also Sandeep highlighted in his previous input when he had spoken about it, that prioritizing the relationship per se is the starting point and the most important foundation. But Dr. Ruhi, what would you have to say in terms of conflicts in a relationship?
I think Ridhima has very well explained that how it happens and some of the insights that we can get out of it. So some things that you need to understand about conflict is that when two people come together, you're going to have difference of opinion, and it is not a bad thing, right? Only if you have another opinion, you can know that what else is possible. That's the first thing, right? Second thing is how to solve the conflict. Very important is when you have a conflict in a relationship, it is important that you solve it then and there, and after that drop it. What happens is something happened 1 year ago and one person remembers it, and every time there is a conflict, that is brought up. That day you did this, that day, that time you were there and you did not call, right? So it's important that you address it then and there, and then just drop it. Do not go with the fight to your bed. That's it, because then you are just piling it up all in your head. That is the first thing. And second thing is, how do you resolve a conflict? So if today I'm fighting with my partner, I'm like, you did that, you did this. And he'll be like, okay, you also did a few things. Big deal, right? Otherwise, they are just going to be, resistant that I didn't do it or this is not what I meant. So
Yeah.
more than blaming the person, the communication should be about what you're actually feeling. So if you're not liking that the person is not giving you attention, instead of saying, okay, you don't call me, you do not give me time, what instead you can try is, I feel alone. I feel that I need you more. I feel that you can be, you can make the effort to be with me a little bit more, and I would love that. And that would actually make the person understand what you are going through and, come across. But if you're just blaming the person that, you're not doing this or that, they're going to be very defensive. That say, I'm not, sometimes they don't even know that they're doing it. So they're just going to be defensive that no, nobody likes to be blamed, even if they have done it, right? So instead, it will be more like, all right, I didn't do it. It's your problem. You're feeling this way. Just go ahead, go home and cry about it. I can't do anything. So better way is talk about what you feel instead of blaming the other person. I think that helps in, first of all, bringing the tone of the conversation down. It is more, kind and a bit of more understanding. And then it helps resolve the issue instead of just like bringing the heat a bit up in a bad way.
Absolutely. I think a very valid point there, Dr. Rui, where you said that, no record keeping, right? Sandeep, what is your call on it? What you have to
I
add?
want to say something very interesting about connecting dance with this. Is in Venezuela they have a very beautiful culture where the parents teach the to be married children that there will be different types of emotions you will go through in a relationship. Of course, you have the love dances which are shown to them because there's a lot of love in the beginning of it, with a lot of affection and sex and everything put together. But there is also a dance called Paso Doble, which is a bullfight dance, which is also showed to them for them to understand that life is not only about having great time and doing all the romance possible or the celebrations possible, but also there's something called as Paso Doble, which is a dance of fight. And this will be an important part of your relationship. And that is taught from a very young age to the children. So I think even in our society, there are very few parents who actually will sit and talk to the parent, to the children, and tell them, you're going to get married now, you will face XYZ problem, or best ways to do this, which is normally not discussed in the house at all. They're just married off to your friends or your partners or your arranged marriages, and you're not taught anything. Then when you're in the water, you're trying to swim across, you're trying to learn through your own things. So there's no one to guide you really. And then of course we have doctors who will help us. But what I'm trying to say here is, if it is taught from a very young age, if it is shown to you through a very young age, like I said, happens in Venezuela, it becomes easier when you actually get into it. When you face a problem, you
Absolutely.
realize there's a problem coming.
Yeah, I think that's a beautiful aspect that you highlighted there, Sandeep, because often relationships are taken and given a very, very rosy picture. It's all going to be beautiful, it's all going to be a bed of roses, but we've got to realize that even roses come with a stem of thorns in it, and we hardly focus on those thorns. So before I move ahead with the other question, I do have an audience question here. We will try to keep audience questions minimal at this point in time and take more of them at the end of it. However, this one is from Vidhi to Dr. Ruhi, and she says that how do you deal with spouse who expects from you to do something that is against your nature or your comfort? For example, leave friends just be because he's not comfy. Others say family first, but in spite of giving family importance, you're made to feel guilty. So how do you do that?
Right. Okay. So I do not know the whole picture of what is the extent of this happening, but it's actually a very valid and a very common question. So if this is something that is bothering you every day, you have to understand that the person might be having some traits which are actually not feasible. Right. Sometimes, we have personality issues where there are, they are paranoid about the partner, and it's not that they don't want you to go out with friends. Underlying, they are not believing you, or maybe they have some doubts that if you are going out there is something happening. That could be one reason that they don't like that you go out. And sometimes what happens is they have their own self-esteem issues. So for example, if there are two partners, one is more socializing, one is less socializing, the one who is an introvert will often feel very left out when the other person is being called outside, because he is never asked. Right. So the other person has friends, they are invited everywhere, they're called 10 times a day, and the other person, although even they don't like the talking to other people, it's their choice, but when it happens in the same household, it brings a sort of imbalance there. So it is important to understand that why the other person is doing that to you. That is the first thing, if you can make that out. Second thing is, if it is a totally unreasonable demand, which does happen, I'm not denying that, then you have to put your foot down. You have to have that confrontation that this is something that is unreasonable, and I don't accept it. And then after communication, you can come with some middle ground, that this much we can do, this much we can't do. Of course, you have to make a few compromises to make sure that the other person also doesn't feel uncomfortable with the relationship. And if, like, going a bit to the extreme, if it is really a relationship where you are having conflicts, it also helps that you have somebody, either a common friend or some sort of a therapist who meddles in and helps balance these things out, if you're not able to do it yourself and you're having too much resistance on the other partner. So why they are doing it is the first thing, and then second thing is how much you can cope up with it is the thing that you need to you need to draw your limits, that this much I can accept, beyond this I can't.
Yeah, I think having your thresholds of negotiables and non-negotiables predetermined is something which is important, because that's where clarity comes in a relationship. So, Ridhiema, to you, on a lighter note, what's the secret of a happy relationship according to you?
There is no secret element for a happy relationship. It's just like those noodles, the noodle recipe from Kung Fu Panda. There is nothing. But still, if somebody really asks me, ki, what is that mantra of a happy, long-lasting relationship? Again, there is trust, respect, kindness, loyalty, uh, the heart that wants to serve the husband or the wife, you know uh, the so these aspects are really important when you want to have a happy, healthy relationship. And the most important of it all when we're talking of marriage is you have to be best friends with your partner. So when you are best friends with your partner, which means there's nothing hidden, that you are comfortably speaking your mind, that you don't have to think twice before sharing a thought, an opinion, and nothing scares you. There are no complexes. There's complete freedom is what I'm trying to say when you are talking. And I think that really helps along the way to have a healthy relationship, because then you're not afraid to achieve anything in life.
I must add to what you were saying, Ridhima, just now. When we get married, we always have the Sat Thera that we talk about. Yes, the seventh one, where in Indian system the woman leads, it says Om Sakhe Saptapadi Bhava, which means I'm going to be your friend Sakhe, I'm going to be your friend till your entire life. I'll stand beside you. This was it's the seventh fera that we take, the last one that we take, which says, "Oh, Sakhe," which means I'm going to be your friend. So what you said is absolutely right. I think the friendship part is the most important part in the relationship, because if you have that, you will just be ruling the relationship. And Dipika has come back again. So Dipika, you were not there. So sorry, I took it up in the middle.
Awesome. No, thanks. Thanks for pitching in, because I don't know, just the comm screen just crashed, but it's nice to reconnect. Yeah. So I heard that, Sandeep. That's really nice. That I think friendship is the key to relationships. Um, but tell me something. What do you think? And that's to you, Sandeep, as well. What do you think is something that really makes or breaks a relationship?
I think what makes a relationship is your togetherness. When the couples come to me for dancing, especially the ones who are going through planning to go through divorce and having problems, many doctors and psychiatrists recommend them to come and dance. And one thing I tell them is, don't dance with each other. Dance for each other and dance for one another, because that is what is most important. You must learn to live your life, not just I'm living with the person, but you must live the life with that person, for that person. That is what makes a life beautiful. You need to be there wanting to enjoy those moments with each other. If you do that, be it anything, even if you disagree on something, you agree to disagree also sometimes.
True.
So it's very important that you need to accept the person and then take the relationship ahead the way it is going. And I would again come back, like I was just talking about the Sat Feras, I would come back to it by saying, when most of us are getting married, only thing we are concerned about is हम क्या पहनेंगे, हम कहाँ शादी करेंगे, हम कहाँ honeymoon जाएंगे, हम कहाँ पे क्या करेंगे. That's our priority, okay? We don't prioritize upon what are the mantras that you're taking. Each feras that you take, what do they mean? And how important these promises are. Even if you don't get married, even if you have live-in partners, even if you just have relationships as just affairs you're having with somebody and you're living with people, or even with other people, you make promises to each other always. You make different types of promises. You must not forget your promises. And I would say dance is the one that reminds you of the promises every time you are dancing. So that's why probably doctors like Dr. Ruhi all the time suggest couples to go and do things together, be it dancing, exercising, do anything that you want. Spend time together, because when you spend time together, you tend to understand each other a lot more and be more compassionate towards each other.
True. And I think dance is one way of, it's hugely, hugely therapeutic. And also, the fact that, like you said, it teaches you far more than just self. It teaches you teamwork. You kind of blend in and kind of understand the other person's perspectives as well and take it forward as a team.
When we are, when we are having the 7 vows that we are talking about, which are, according to me, the most beautiful thing in this world, it talks about your holding each other forever. It talks about protecting each other. It talks about love with each other. It talks about how you will share things with each other, how you will guide each other, how you will stand by and inspire each other. There is so much that is a part of 7 vows. And, especially in ballroom dancing, which I'm doing, I would say each of these vows have a special posture, has a special hold, which signifies these postures. And that is why when the couples take these postures, they are reminded each time about the promises they have made, and they should be keeping them forever. Like we say, Sat Janam, Sat Vachan is what's most important. We must never forget that, because that's the key of success.
True. Beautiful. And I've forever been wanting to do ballroom dancing. So maybe I'm going to be in touch with you very soon. Dr. Ruhi, my next question is to you. There's a thin line between I'm not feeling fine and being clinically depressed. What do you have to say about that?
All right, Dipika, this is a very valid question, and I think it's high time that people understand this as well, because what happens is, just because they are not clear and when they want to reach to the hospital is the reason that the treatment gets delayed. The survey that we recently did, it shows that a normal person who is depressed almost takes around 8 years to reach a hospital. Initially, it's more of, they try to deny that they have any such thing. They just, brush it off that it's this something that I'm feeling temporarily. When they, when it's enough for them, then they come out and talk to somebody, and the next reaction is it's just a phase. It might have happened because of that or this, right? That's when, the frustration starts, anger starts, and the moment that they reach the doctor for the help is actually when they've actually suffered a lot, and they have either jeopardized some of their relationships or their work or something like that. So it's really important that they understand the difference between feeling depressed, that is the common term, and I think this term only confuses most people, because the feeling depressed is not being in depression. All right. So, like, for example, if something has happened in your life, some trauma or some emotional disturbances happened, because of which you are feeling a bit low for a few days, that is just sadness. That is feeling low. All right. So, it will happen for a few days till the time you either solve the issue or you learn to cope up with it. But what depression is, of course, that feeling of low is there. It might happen because of a reason, or it might happen absolutely without any reason. So what happens with these people is, suddenly in a few days, what they'll feel is that no matter what, they're just feeling low, right? This is the first symptom. Second is what we term as anhedonia. That is, you suddenly, lose interest in the things that used to enjoy you. So you do those things, you do party, you go to your friends, but suddenly it doesn't feel the same, it doesn't make you happy. Maybe for a moment there something happened, then you feel all right, I enjoyed that. But internally you do not feel that, rush that you used to get with those things. That is the second thing. Then, of course, we have sleep disturbances. Then we have appetite disturbances. You do not feel hungry. Some people might feel extremely hungry. That is one of like rare symptoms, but that's also possible. You get, a lot of weight loss is there. So suddenly, in a 1 or 2 month span, you'll see that suddenly your weight is losing. You're eating the same thing. You are doing whatever you used to do, though no change in your lifestyle or eating thing, but you suddenly start losing weight. Then one common symptom is fatigue. So what happens is, many will complain that I just got up and I couldn't leave the bed. I didn't feel like leaving the bed. So this is like, common thing. If you are trying to work, you're just not having the physical energy to do it. You're having a lot of anxiety, irritation, and, we call it, irritability. So even a small thing will happen and you'll become really aggressive and spiteful, and you don't know why it is happening. And then of course, then, crying spells are there, that you don't know why is it's happening, and you suddenly feel like just bursting out, right? Then we have, of course, the cognitive symptoms, where the people will complain. They might not, notice the mood symptoms that much, but what they notice is, because they're so busy in their life, they won't be able to concentrate. They won't be able to take decisions in the workplace. Somehow the work capacity significantly reduces. And of course, if it increases, there are, passive death wishes and suicidal ideation, suicidal feelings, and all those things, which, happens in severe cases as well. So depression is not feeling sad. It is not. It is just one aspect of it. You have all these symptoms. In fact, out of the symptom range that we have, we at least, need 4, 5, precisely to be 5, to diagnose the patient that they have depression. So without that, the patient is not clinically depressed. So if it is happening because of some issues, we have to understand that going to a psychiatrist is not going to label you as a depressed person. It doesn't work that way. So a doctor or a psychologist can precisely tell you that, okay, this is sadness, which is just, prolonging. So for example, if somebody has, somebody passed away in their family, some close one, that is grief. You are sad for 6 months, you are not functional, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you are depressed. All right. So, but if you have to just ask me in a nutshell when to go to a doctor, if you are feeling that you are not able to function the level that you used to, is the time to go to a doctor. To put it in very simple terms, but yes, sadness without reason, with reason alone is not depression. You need another symptoms. But yes, why, if you only have sadness as well and you're not able to cope up, it is important that you go to a professional and get it sorted.
True. In fact, my 2 cents over here would be that we've somewhere got to address to this huge taboo associated with depression, with mental health in as such, for that matter, because like we all come, I mean, सबको खांसी जुकाम होता है, but each time थोड़ा खांसी जुकाम होता है, हम जाके डॉक्टर को जाके, throat दिखाते हैं, गला दिखाते हैं, सब ठीक ठाक है, antibiotics चाहिए, thoda bahut
Right.
karke we are fine. We don't do that when it comes to mental health. We just keep
Yes.
on lingering on, also because of the fact that it comes with a taboo associated. I think
Right.
that's the place where one needs to kind of take into account that depression, or even if you're just feeling sad, and if that is prolonged, it is good enough a symptom for you to just walk up to a doctor,
Yes.
and seek professional help. And it might just get sorted at a very early stage. You nip the bud. You don't let it grow to that great an extent.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. One of the reason that I do, although like I do get a lot of patients, but every week I take out time to do at least some of these things so I can create awareness, because it breaks my heart. A patient will come to me, 10 years they have been suffering, the relationships have suffered, the work has suffered, and all they needed was just 2 pills. 2 pills, that's all. You
imagine,
take
yeah,
those 2 medications, you don't even have to tell anybody, you can just take it on your own. They're not even expensive that you have to, tell somebody, or you need to depend on somebody for that. And within few weeks they suddenly are a new person itself. And
yeah,
they feel
yeah,
happy about it, but internally it just crushes my heart that how sad it is. And it was like when I joined psychiatry, I was really new in it. And at that time, one case came, and that lady had not left her room for 10 years, and we are
wow,
crying for lockdown for 3 months. Yes, that is why the aspect of creating awareness is really important to me, because that lady, and she was the sweetest lady ever I had seen, right? And like she didn't leave the room for 10 years. And like I know how I took that history. For half an hour I sat there, and I went to my room, literally I had to cry that day, because it was unimaginable for me that for
yeah,
something so
yeah,
simple she spent 10 years, and the family
10
didn't
years, yeah,
understand that what is happening. And by the time like it came
true,
to a point that she was feeling suicidal and having those death wishes, is the time that they felt that now it's really out of hand, let us take her to a hospital.
yeah,
And it
yeah,
just took 3 months and she was out of it. Just 3 months, imagine
yeah.
that too.
So
She came in the
that's a,
worst case. Yeah.
yeah,
So it's
and
important that we
most of the
understand it
people do that.
early. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. So it's
absolutely.
important that we
Most people
address it
do that.
early. Yes, yes.
True, true. So I'm going to come to you, Ridhima, here. Thank you, Dr. Ruhi. I think that was very important how you clarified it in layman's terms, because it is important for us to realize that it is just another Khansi Zukam of the mind that needs attention, and we'll be all good. Ridhima, coming to you, we all understand that expectations are a part of relationships, right? But how much is too much? Where do you decipher somewhere that this is a reasonable expectation and this is totally unrealistic?
So,
What's your
uh,
take on it?
so for that, we need to first understand what really is a reasonable expectation, and that happens when you sit and talk to your partner. That okay, the basic things that we want in a relationship, the reason why we are in a relationship is love, happiness, all these other big kindness. So these are the basic things that any relationship, whenever you opt for a long term relationship, or whenever you are in a relationship, the reasons are these. So when you say reasonable expectations, I feel that if they are reasonable, then why are they expectations?
True.
Because there should not be any reasons for these. One should not, as in, I don't know why would one go and say that I don't feel loved. Why would a person not understand that you are together here sharing a life? You've got to express, you've got to love the person, you got to appreciate the person. Why does one forget these things? Why would one not be responsible? So if two people are acting responsibly, the reasonable expectations, the criteria will should be removed, because then it doesn't make sense. So validity of a relationship is directly proportional to reasonable expectations for me. When we talk about the other thing, the other part, which is very rigid, which the unrealistic expectation, the term itself is very rigid, because there I think that the person feels that you own the person. Okay, the person loves me, I love the person, now I own the person, I own the person's space, so now I have the power to change the person. That is so unrealistic. that it, as an, I feel that a person, nobody has the power to feel that you can own somebody else's life, and this for me is truly unrealistic. Another very important scenario that we all forget is, is that kind of attitude. I've come across a few friends, when they've got married, they are getting married solely for the reason being that पंडित जी ने कहा है शादी होते ही लक्ष्मी घर पे आएगी और बहुत पैसा बरसेगा, है ना? So some people get into a relationship with these unrealistic, मतलब और नहीं बरसा तो निकाल बाहर करोगे लड़की को, नहीं बरसा, लक चेंज नहीं हुआ तुम्हारा, क्या करोगे तुम उस रिश्ते को? Will you stop acknowledging the person? No, these are unrealistic approaches, unrealistic expectations, and these happen. Why? Because the person himself is not happy with who he is or who she is. So when you're not happy with what you are, you will definitely have unrealistic expectations with the other person. कि मैं इधर बैठा हूँ टांगे तान कर, कोई मुझे जादू का कुछ वो लाके दे दे, मुझे वो लाके दे दे, वो दूसरा पर्सन करे मेरे लिए. The other person is suddenly responsible for everything else. I am sitting here with my legs on the bed. Everything will happen because my partner is here. That is so unrealistic. You have to get up, fend for yourself, because the partner is doing so. Partner is doing his or her bit, and you are supposed to do your bit in the relationship. So things, and another part is the person starts feeling that things will make him feel happy, that probably travel will make him happy. Two people in a marriage or in a relationship cannot extract happiness from materialistic things. Those who feel that they can extract happiness from materialistic things end up nowhere, because when these things are not there, when there are testing times, when there are times when everything else goes for a toss or in the reverse direction, is the exact time when you know the depth of your relationship. That is real relationship. So when you're talking about realistic expectations, yeah, I depend on my husband for all the medicines, yeah, I will never take it myself. So, and I like it, I like to be like that. I will want my husband to give it mere haath mein, प्लीज दवाई दे दो मुझसे नहीं लिया जाएगा. These are sweet moments. I think ये तो दोनों की understanding होती है that these are the things I want in a relationship, and these are really sweet moments. These are sweet expectations. But when those expectations go beyond a person's individual growth space, it's not fair, because then from that person is not even, that person is finishing the I. And what is very important is to remember the I with we. So both is important. We in a relationship is important, but the I is also important. So if I try to overpower or consume the individual, I am destroying the I. So
True. No, I think very well said. I think it really is a very, very fine balance that one has to kind of create, and it has to get created only by equal involvement of the two people in that relationship. Sandeep, what would you like to add on over here in terms of expectations, reasonable and unrealistic? Sandeep, can you hear me?
Can you?
Yeah, Sandeep, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Sorry. Oh, you were asking me something. I just went off in the middle.
Okay. No, I said, what is your perspective in terms of expectations in relationships? Them being reasonable and how to decipher the unrealistic expectations.
I would probably put the other way around by saying it that it's very important to accept the change. Because, when you marry somebody or when you fall in love with someone at a particular point of time in their life, they are not the same when they're later on in their life. So if you're in your 20s, you will not be the same when you're in your 30s. You will not be the same when you're in 40s and your 50s and so on and so forth. So you can't say, "Arey, tum to wo karte the when you were in your 20s," because that's not possible. So you need to accept the change that the relationship also brings and how the relationship evolves. Because it keeps evolving all the time, every day. There is something new coming up in your relationship. And when you accept that change, your relationship expectations automatically will become lesser, because you are just taking the person right now at the face value as to what they're coming with, what they can offer to you and what they can't offer to you because of XYZ things happening in their life, be it from their work, from their family, or from the environment, society, or whatever it is. So it's extremely important, like I said, to accept the change which is coming into your relationship every other day. It comes every day, from one child to the second child to the third child to the neighbor, shifting houses, shifting jobs, shifting places. There's so much that happens in our lives and in a relationship, and you are walking with that person all the time. So you need to understand that the person is changing physically, mentally, socially. And once you accept those changes, your expectations will never be too high. They will be always kept moderate, and you will then learn to accept it.
True. Thanks, Sandeep. That was also very, very insightful, because these are perspectives that are really important to have them out there. Most of the times they're within, and we ourselves have that expectation that people will, understand it. Because if I can understand it, why can't others understand? But have you had your ask clear? Have you communicated? That's something important. Um, we have tons of audience questions coming in, and before we jump into those questions, right, I'm going to do a quick rapid fire, literally in one word, right? Dr. Ruhi, we're going to start with you, literally in one word. What's the essence of a healthy relationship?
I think the most important is respect.
Respect. All right, Ridhiema,
love
jumping on to
changes
you.
with phase, but respect is something that I would want.
Beautiful. Ridhiema, what's that one essence of a
trust?
Of a healthy relationship? Trust.
Trust.
Quickly on to you, Sandeep.
Trust.
Love. Most important. Love for each other. Eternal love for each other.
Lovely. So we've actually kind of defined in those, if you put those three words together, respect, trust, and eternal love, we've actually defined what a healthy relationship comprises of. And if we can, and I'd like to add my bit here, is a little bit of personal space. And that somewhere touches a little, rubs shoulders with respect, because you've got to give that little space to individuality as well while you're working as a team, to not step onto each other's toes or each other's personal boundaries, because once you do that, it leads to frustration, it leads to irritability, it leads to somewhere everybody needs a breathing space. So respect, love, trust, and a bit of breathing space would be a great mantra for lasting healthy relationships. On that note, we're now going to move on to answering a few questions from our audience. And one of the questions that came up, I think that was to you, Dr. Ruhi. How do we keep that childlike expectations alive?
All right, so that's a very, it's a whole, it will require a lot of time, but the first thing that you can do to start with that is make yourself responsible for your happiness. All right. So what happens is that when we are expecting other people to do things for us, and they'll say, my husband has never surprised me, or the other person never did anything for me. Why are you waiting for that? Right? So a simple thing that you can do is make yourself happy. If you are happy, if you are grateful, you can be excited about life much more. Another thing that you can, very simple exercise, but actually there has been done a lot of research of it, that gratitude. Simply just do this every evening before sleeping. Just write 3 things, 4 things that you are thankful for in that day that happened and make you happy. It doesn't have to be big. See, big things will happen maybe once in a year, once in 6 months, but you have to find the happiness in small things, right? If you start noticing that, and if you have a grateful heart, you appreciate the big things even more, and then you have the excitement consistently instead of going in dips that only when something will happen I'll be happy. So be responsible for your happiness and create your happiness.
Lovely. I hope that answers the question, though it's a beautifully, simply answered question. What I really love in this conversation that we're having is that each of us are very, very relatable. I think from an audience perspective, it's just, we're just simplifying certain threads that feel complicated. So thank you, dear panelists, for that.
Thank you for saying that, because being a psychiatrist, it's really rare that I see that people are relating with me. So thank you for saying that.
Nice. Ridhiema, one quick question. We've just about 5 minutes left. So one quick question for you. Being a working woman, right? We do somewhere, of course, we are on a phase of, moving towards gender equality and equality in expressions and opportunities. But being a working woman, the next audience question that comes is that how do you balance expectations in a patriarchal society?
I don't understand that because uh, I have never experienced, I've never had that thing, that confusion with regards to balancing work, my professional life with my personal life. I have seen my mother do it her entire life. And I am just a shadow or a replica of her. I have always seen her waking up at 4 happily, making dabbas, making full meals, not chevda, not bread butter, making full meals for her family. I do the same for Jas. Earlier, I stayed very far away from Film City. Now I've moved closer. But when I had my shifts at 7 a.m., I got up at 4 and I made cooked meals for him. Why? Because there's love. And not that I wanted to prove a point that I did it for 4 days. No, I want to do that. I want to give good meals to my husband. And this is not because I want a validation from him that, oh, you're such a good wife. No, I don't look for validation. I don't want to fall into the perfect wife category. But to do all these things gives me more happiness. When I see the man having a full meal cooked by my hands and with a lot of love, it gives me a lot of satisfaction. So, what we should focus on here is, it's not that we cannot balance. We are talking about women who are here. Women are excellent taskmasters. Men are not exactly like that, but women can do so much more. Sorry, Sandeep. I don't mean that, but I'm just saying that women are excellent taskmasters. And I have seen my mother do so much with such ease that it comes very natural to me. So what I feel is that a lot depends, the status of your relationships in future definitely depends a lot on how your relationship with your parents has been, what you have seen them
Mm-hmm.
doing when they are
Mm-hmm.
together. So ultimately,
True.
when you have your relationships in life, you kind of behave like them. It could be worse, it could be in a good way, it could be in a bad way, but you tend to imbibe those traits from your parents. This is how we learn, right?
True.
So when it
True.
comes to
True.
balancing my professional life with personal, it comes, thankfully, it comes with a lot of ease. And my husband raves about this fact that I never complain or crib about it, because if you
True.
complain about it, you're not doing it with love. And I
True.
will not
True.
say that women who don't do it, they are bad. If you can't manage, it's all right.
Yeah.
If the partner is nudging you to make meals, that is wrong. But if you feel that you are not able to organize meals, there's certainly another way where you can balance work, you can balance home, you can keep somebody to take care of the house when you are away.
True.
So in
Yeah.
that case
Yeah.
as well, you're managing the house.
I think delegation
So
is important. You
delegation,
know.
correct.
Yeah. Yeah. So Sandeep, I know you have to add something here. What would you like to add? Because I do have a question
Look,
for you following this.
okay, just a quick thing I wanted to add is for all the men is that we must learn to share things with our partners and not expect them to do everything for you. And that I think also comes from the way you've been brought up as well from your home. So when you come back from office, you can't sit on the sofa and think she'll get you water and she'll give you food, because if she has also come back from office and she's going to get that water for you and cook for you, it's your job to be helpful as well in the house and do other things as well together. So like in the Bible, they have said that the woman was made from man's ribs, from his side, to be besides him. So don't treat her like a
Mm-hmm.
doormat. Don't try to step all over her and expect too much from her, because that's not what she's supposed to be. She's supposed to be a part of your heart and close to you.
Yeah, that beautifully segues into the audience questions that we have, which says that how do you handle expectations in order to avoid conflicts?
How do we handle expectations to avoid conflict? I would just say that, conflicts only come when your expectations get, like in the beginning we started talking, and it gets too high up. So just do not expect anything from your partner. Just do it for the sake of love, for the sake of for each other. Like I said, when we are like a dancing, like I said, when we dance together, we say dance for each other. So live your life for each other. Therefore, there'll be no expectations at all. I understand we do have expectations, but if you just do it because of love, you will just not have expectation, because you're doing it because you just want to do it. It's your own heart which says, I want to do this particular thing for my partner. Therefore, you're not having expectation. That is why you don't do it. You're doing it because you just want to do it. It is your mind, body, and your heart that says, I would like to do XYZ things. So they are not called expectations. They're just called love. And I think this is reciprocating it is equally important. So from the man's point of view and the woman's point of view, it becomes important that they both do it for each other.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's such a critical aspect that you just highlighted, Sandeep. That it has to be a hand in glove situation. It has to be a two-way traffic, and
Doctor, can you hear me? Doctor, can you hear me?
no, I think we'll just get back to her. Right. So Priya has a question for Sandeep. Two married people who have totally opposite personalities really have high expectations from each other. How can they attain balance and happiness?
I would just say dance. I would always say all solutions to all problems is to dance together. Especially, I would say my dance form, which is ballroom dancing, not because I'm a ballroom dancer, but because, like I said, our 7 vows that we take, I'll again come back to that, because I think it's very important for us to understand that these promises are the ones which will kill all expectations. These promises are the ones which will ignite the fire, which will bring back the love which is being lost, which will bring back the inspiration which you're not being there for each other or to share things with each other. Dance will ignite all those fires back again into your life, because it's not just a way only to spend time with each other, do things with each other, travel with each other. There's so much that you can do when you are going to a dance class, because there's a lot more that bonds you together. And like I said, the entire relationship is relived every time. You get married
True.
today, after 6 months, 10 months, 1 year, you forget those promises that you have made on that wedding day. But each time you dance, I'm telling you, each time you dance, you relive those promises, you relive those moments. Therefore, you will never have any of those problems. So please, if your husband does not dance, your wife does not dance, they don't have to be, Michael Jackson when they're performing. They can even do Sheila and Munni, that matter of fact. But just do it together, because that is what is important.
Yeah, I think Supriya, like you said in your comment over here, that your husband doesn't dance, but then as Sandeep said, that find out other commonalities where you kind of come to a point which is of common interest to both of you. It could be travel, it could be anything that is common to both of you, and do it together. It's more about the bonding and finding the common platform for bonding, rather than just maybe a particular aspect, right? We'll take two more last questions over here. Dr. Ruhi, coming back to you, there was a question on how do you handle teenage depression when the individual does not want to speak up to the parents, because probably they think that not much will come out of it. So how to handle teenage depression?
It's quite common. and especially with teenagers, because they do not understand the consequences of it. And they're naturally a bit awkward with talking to the parents, because they're not comfortable sharing what they're going through, because although we know now that yes, all of that is normal, but at that age we all remember that we were really tricky about it. So simple thing that you can do is, if they're not talking to the parent, just engage somebody the child trusts. All right, and don't feel bad about it that your child is not talking to and choosing to talk to somebody else. Just the thing is that we need to just find a way that they open up a bit. So whether it's a family friend or a common friend that the child trusts, otherwise get a counselor or a psychiatrist, any professional, because they know how to get it out. They have been trained to do this. So if you go to a therapist, initially we get that a lot, that the family brings the patient, but the patient is not willing to talk about it. But with giving a few more examples, sometimes what happens is they don't even know that they have depression. They just think it's a phase, or it's their personality. But when we explain them that what you are going through might be something on these lines, even though they do not agree on that day, if it continues for another 2 weeks, 3 weeks, they will understand that maybe that day that lady was saying this, it is something that is I'm experiencing right now, so maybe I should check it out. So get somebody who the child trusts. That is important, not necessarily the first point of contact, which in case can be the parents or the siblings.
True. Good. I think awareness and constant awareness acts like a reminder, like a recall when things does kind of reach a particular limit. Another question directed to you, doctor, is that when you've mutually fallen out of a relationship, right?
Right.
And with mutual consent, you've gone your way, the other partner's gone his or her way, but memories come back to you, and it becomes difficult for you to handle situations. How do you keep yourself in control then? How do you kind of go through that phase?
Right, definitely. So, ruminations, the thoughts that of the past which keep on bothering you, not necessarily of a relationship, of any kind, can be of two types. One is when you actually have, a clinical mental disorder going on, for example, depression. This actually can be one symptom of it. But if you do not have that, if it is just simply that, that you are fine, but sometimes it bothers you, what you can do is vent it out. Don't bottle it up. So talk to somebody you can trust, and express it out that this is something that you are going through. That is the first thing. Once you vent it out, a lot of things settle down. After that, what you need to figure out is why you are still stuck there. If it was a mutual thing, or even if it was not a mutual thing, what is that thing that is keeping you stuck there, both good and bad? Sometimes it's the bad memories that keep on replaying, sometimes it's the good memories, right? So if it's a good memory, what you need to do is you need to find out those things outside somewhere. So for example, you miss a company, right? You miss somebody that is taking care of you. It doesn't necessarily that it has to come through a partner. Also what happens is that the rebound partner, we go to somebody else because we need somebody to do all that was happening in the first one, right? Don't do that. Find some other resource. It's not necessary that your boyfriend only has to call you 10 times a day. Ask your mother to do that 2 times, ask your friends to do that 2 times, and you got 10 calls, right? So
True.
whatever was the satisfaction that you were getting out of that relationship, find some other source of it. That is essential, so that you are not hung up on that feeling of missing out on that feeling. And always remember that you are in a relationship because you want to be with that person, and not because you just want to be in a relationship.
True.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Doctor. I'm sure we have so many more questions that would,
You're welcome.
would like to be answered, but because of the paucity of time, I'd like to thank each one of you and Woodpecker Media for putting across such a fabulous and addressing to such an amazing topic, so close to our hearts and our lives. And thank you, Ridhiema. Thank you, Sandip. Thank you, Dr. Ruhi, for addressing it with such great simplicity. I think, from a moderator's perspective, also from an audience perspective, every input of yours was very relatable, was very understandable, comprehensible, and all I wish is, for the audience to take these tips and put them into practice, and most importantly, not have any taboos associated with how you're feeling. The more we talk about it, the more we express ourselves, it's out of our systems, which is very important. And second is that if you want to be heard, you've got to have your ask clear. Have that ask clear, communicate well, and the world is not that bad a place to live in, and relationships are beautiful. Expectations sometimes go haywire, but things can work out, things can balance out, and just be open to embracing newer aspects of life. So thank you so much, and would really like to thank Woodpecker Media. Thank you, Moshmi, for putting this together, and lovely, lovely, lovely interacting with all of you. Would love to stay connected. You take care, stay healthy. Bye-bye.